What would you do if the child you rescued, the one who hadn't spoken a word in 2 years, was the only one brave enough to tell you the truth you never wanted to hear? Subscribe now, because sometimes the voice that saves you comes from where you least expect. Joel Dawson was 42, a quiet, dependable maritime engineer living near Sarasota. His life revolved around schedules, vessels, and the comforting rhythm of tides. He believed in fixing things, engines, broken hinges, and for the past 6 years, his wife, Karen, was 39 and worked in finance. Smart, composed, private, she wore her professionalism like armor. After years of fertility treatments and miscarriages, Joel and Karen made the decision to adopt. They were matched with Emma, a 5-year-old girl who had lost her parents in a house fire. Emma hadn't spoken since the day she'd been pulled from the smoke. She made no sound, only stared with wide, haunted eyes. Therapists called it trauma-induced mutism. Joel called it silence that hurt to witness. But he loved her, from the moment she stepped into their home by the lake, clutching a stuffed elephant with one burned ear. Joel knew she belonged. He read to her every night, sat beside her as she colored in silence. He whispered bedtime stories with no expectation of response, only hope. Karen was less patient. She tried, in her own way, but Joel sensed a distance, a hesitation she never spoke aloud. Their home was picturesque, a lakeside cottage with warm wood interiors and wide windows that let in the golden Florida sun. Their neighbors waved. Their friends envied their resolve. From the outside, it looked like a healing place, a sanctuary. But quiet doesn't always mean peace. Karen had started coming home later. First once a week, then twice. Her excuse was always work, quarter-end reports, late client calls, audit reviews. Joel believed her, at first, but then there were the other signs. She started keeping her phone face down at the dinner table. She laughed at texts, then quickly cleared the screen. One night, she forgot to silence her phone. A message lit up the screen just as Joel passed by to grab water. He didn't read the full line, just enough to see a heart emoji and a name he didn't recognize. He didn't ask. He couldn't, because asking meant admitting he no longer believed the woman who slept beside him. Instead, he threw himself deeper into his role as a father. Emma became his center. They had a quiet ritual. Every evening, just before sunset, they'd sit on the back porch, watch the light settle over the lake, and Joel would tell her about the world. Sometimes he talked about ships, sometimes about how stars used to guide sailors home, and always, he ended with the same words. When you're ready to talk, I'll be here, but even if you never say a word, I still hear you. Emma never responded, but she started drawing more. At first, they were simple images, flowers, boats, a sun that always smiled. Then, slowly, the figures came. One picture showed a small girl standing between two tall figures. The girl had no mouth. One adult stood close to her, hand on her head. The other, a woman with long black hair, stood far away, next to a man Joel didn't recognize. He asked gently, "Who's this?" Emma looked at him with those large eyes and pressed her lips shut. Then, she turned the page and started drawing something else. Joel didn't push, but that image stayed with him. Karen had stopped joining them for dinner. She claimed she was fasting, or tired, or on a call. She no longer kissed Joel goodnight. Their bed became a shared mattress with a quiet wall of air between them. Even when she touched Emma, it felt rehearsed, a pat on the shoulder, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Joel told himself she was stressed. Work was brutal. Being a mother to a silent child wasn't easy. Maybe she just needed time. But in his bones, he felt something had shifted. And Emma, sweet, silent Emma, seemed to feel it too. She began drawing the same figures over and over. A house, a lake, a girl with no mouth, a woman with her back turned. One night, as Joel tucked her in, she took his hand and held it for a long time. No sound, no words. But Joel felt it. A storm was coming, and the silence was no longer a refuge. It was a warning. Joel wasn't supposed to come home early. The project he was overseeing had hit a delay. And for once, he decided not to wait it out on the job site. Sarasota evenings had a softness to them, a kind of golden fatigue that sank into the bones. He thought maybe he'd surprise Karen with takeout. Maybe sit on the porch with Emma. Read her favorite picture book again. But when he pulled into the driveway, something felt off. The porch light was off, though it was already dark. Emma's tricycle was upright on the grass, not tucked away like usual. And then there were the shoes. A pair of men's sneakers, not his, sat just inside the doorway. Joel hesitated, hand on the knob. He told himself it could be anything. A neighbor, a family friend, but the lie barely had time to settle before the door creaked open. The living room was dim, lit only by the glow of a lamp in the far corner. The television was on, playing muted late-night news. But no voices, no footsteps, just that strange stillness. He stepped inside. Karen, no answer. Then he saw her purse on the table. And Emma. She was sitting cross-legged in the far corner of the room. Her stuffed elephant clutched tight to her chest. Eyes locked on the hallway. "Hey, sweetheart. Where's Mom?" Emma didn't move. Joel walked toward her, crouched to her level. She was pale, breath shallow, as if holding something inside. "Is everything okay?" She slowly turned her head and looked at him, and for the briefest second, Joel swore there was something she wanted to say. But as always, she said nothing. Then he heard it, a laugh, low, male, from the hallway. Joel stood, breath caught in his throat, just as Karen emerged. Her hair was slightly mussed, her shirt loose at the shoulder. Behind her, a man stepped out, tall, unfamiliar, smoothing his sleeves. Karen froze when she saw Joel. No screams, no apologies, just silence. Then she whispered, "You're home early." Joel's eyes darted to the man, who had the gall to nod politely. "Joel, right, I've heard a lot about you." Joel didn't speak. He looked at Emma. She hadn't moved, still clutching her elephant, still wide-eyed. The man left quickly after that. Karen said nothing else, just went to the kitchen and began washing a glass that didn't need washing. Joel put Emma to bed without a word. She lay still under the covers, her back to him, but just as he turned to leave, she spoke. 2 years of silence broke in 4 words. "That's not Mommy." Joel turned around, stunned. "Emma, what did you say?" She looked at him, eyes full, voice soft. "That's not Mommy." It wasn't just the words. It was how she said them. Not angry, not afraid, just certain. Joel sat on the edge of the bed, his heart pounding. "Why do you say that?" Emma didn't answer, but she didn't have to. Joel didn't sleep that night. He sat in the living room, staring at nothing, the weight of his daughter's voice echoing through him. He should have felt rage, but what he felt was heartbreak. Emma had spoken, finally, and the words had nothing to do with healing. They were a warning, a fracture. The next morning, Karen tried to explain. "He's just a friend, Joel. I didn't mean for you to find out like that." He didn't look at her. Emma spoke. "Last night." Karen stopped. She said, "That's not Mommy." A long pause. She doesn't know what she's saying. She's traumatized, still confused. Joel turned slowly. "No, she's not confused. She's clearer than both of us." Karen backed away, wounded. "So what now? You believe the mute child who draws pictures over your wife?" Joel's voice dropped. "She's not mute anymore, and I believe the one who never lied to me." For the first time, he saw Karen falter, and for the first time, Joel saw his family not as it was, but as it truly had become. Broken, but not because of Emma. Because of everything they refused to see until she found the courage to say it. Joel began to watch, not with suspicion, not yet, but with the kind of quiet alertness that comes when denial has nowhere left to hide. He waited until Karen left for work one morning, and instead of heading to the shipyard, he stayed home. Her laptop had a passcode. Her phone was always with her, but her desk drawer, where she once kept old tax folders, now held a paper planner. Inside, he found it, circled dates, Midday blocks with no labels. Just shorthand initials, J. Joel's hands shook as he flipped through the pages. Each Tuesday and Thursday afternoon for the past 2 months. She'd blocked out time for appointments. Always between 1 o'clock and 2:30 p.m. That same day, Joel bought a hidden dash camera and installed it inside Karen's car. Behind the rearview mirror, he also placed a discreet audio recorder beneath the couch in the living room. Nestled between the cushions, where Emma never sat, the first few days yielded nothing. Karen came home late but said little. Joel asked less. He played the part, kissed her cheek when she walked in, read to Emma like always. But his mind spun. Then came Friday. Joel sat in his truck outside work, reviewing the footage remotely. At precisely 1:14 p.m., Karen's car pulled into a small parking lot near downtown Sarasota, in front of a boutique hotel Joel didn't even know existed. At 1:17, a man joined her, tall, clean-shaven, confident. He wore a navy button-down and walked like someone familiar with goodbyes. They didn't touch, not at first, but when they stepped inside together, Karen brushed her hand against his lower back. Joel closed the video. His hands were clammy, his throat dry. He hadn't expected the confirmation to feel like this. Back home that night, he listened to the audio recorder. Faintly, beneath the sound of dishes and drawers, he heard laughter, male, not his own. At one point, Karen whispered, "You have to be gone before Emma wakes up." Joel didn't confront her, not yet. He researched the man. It took one quick search through Karen's Facebook friends. Jason Hale, former co-worker at her old accounting firm. Divorced last year. Joel remembered him vaguely, a handshake at an office party. But that wasn't all. Joel accessed their joint savings account online. Buried among regular expenses were quiet monthly transfers from Karen's separate checking account to an unfamiliar name. Hale J. $400. Every month. For how long? Emma had started drawing again. One night, she handed Joel a picture. It showed a woman holding hands with a faceless man. Behind them stood a small child and another man, alone. Distant, barely visible at the edge of the page. Joel asked, "Who's this?" Emma didn't answer, but her eyes told him everything. She was watching, and she understood more than anyone realized. The next morning, Joel drove to the hotel, sat across the street in his truck for 2 hours, watched as Karen's car arrived, watched Jason follow, and still, part of him hoped she wouldn't go inside. But she did. Joel went home, sat in the dark with the curtains drawn. This was no longer about Karen. It was about Emma, about trust, about what kind of home she would grow up in. Joel thought about her words. "That's not mommy." Maybe she didn't just mean the woman in the hallway. Maybe she meant the stranger Karen had become. He closed his eyes, fists clenched. He had the truth now. And the truth demanded something more than silence. It demanded action. Joel waited until the house was silent. The kind of silence that crept in only after Emma had gone to bed. And the dishwasher hummed in the background like a soft, mechanical lullaby. Karen sat on the couch, scrolling her phone, feet tucked beneath her. He stood in the doorway, holding his phone in one hand, a small USB stick in the other. "Karen, we need to talk." She looked up, startled by his tone. "Is everything okay?" Joel walked over slowly, placed the USB stick on the coffee table. "This has everything I've recorded. You and Jason, the hotel, the phone calls, the laughing in our kitchen." She froze, her face drained of color. Her mouth opened, then closed. Finally, she whispered, "You've been spying on me. I've been trying to understand what's real." Joel said, "Because I thought this was you, me, Emma, our family." Karen's voice broke. "Joel, please, just listen to one clip." Joel interrupted. He tapped his phone. The room filled with Jason's laughter, the clink of glass, Karen's voice murmuring something soft, intimate. She crumpled into herself, face in her hands. Her shoulders shook as the first sob escaped. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I didn't. I felt so alone. Joel, like I disappeared inside this house. Like I became just this shadow." Jason listened. That's all. He listened. Joel sat across from her. His voice was low, measured. If Emma hadn't spoken, would you have told me? Would you have stopped? Karen looked up. Her mascara had begun to smear. Her eyes searched his for mercy. Joel repeated, softer this time, but heavier. Would you have told me? Karen didn't answer. Silence settled again, and then, from the stairs, came the sound of a footstep. Emma stood there, her stuffed elephant in her arms. Her eyes wide, not in fear, but in recognition. She'd heard all of it. Joel stood, instinctively walking toward her, but Emma turned, climbed back up without a word, and shut her door. She didn't speak for the rest of the day. Karen buried her face in her hands again. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I love her, I do, I know I messed up. But I love her, I want to fix this. Joel leaned back against the wall. He looked drained, not just tired, but hollow. She didn't speak for 2 years. Karen, 2 years of silence, and she chose to break it. Not for a bedtime story. Not for a birthday, but to protect me, from you. Karen cried harder. I'm still her mother, maybe not by birth, but I've held her through her nightmares. I've been there, too. Joel looked at her long and hard. You held her body, but she never trusted you with her truth. Not like she trusted me. Karen stood, pacing. So what now? You want me gone? You want to take her away from me? Joel didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. I want her to grow up in a home where love doesn't mean hiding. Karen stared at him, her face twisted, between rage, sorrow, and helplessness. You think I don't feel broken? Like I haven't hated myself every time I looked at you? But I can't go back. I can't undo it. Joel nodded slowly. Then maybe the only thing left to do is stop pretending. Later that night, Karen slept in the guest room. Joel sat in the hallway, back against Emma's door, just in case she needed him. She didn't open the door, didn't speak, but she pushed her elephant underneath the gap, letting it touch Joel's side. He didn't move it, he just laid his hand on it, closed his eyes, and whispered, "Thank you." For once, silence didn't feel like a prison. It felt like a promise. The court hearing was swift. The recordings, the financial records, the confession, they all left little room for argument. Karen's attorney tried to frame it as a lapse in judgment, a woman overworked and emotionally vulnerable. But the judge saw through it. Emma's fragile mental state, the trust she had placed in Joel, and the fact that her first words in 2 years were spoken not out of comfort but out of warning, carried a weight that no legal strategy could soften. Joel was granted full custody. Karen was allowed supervised visitation twice a month, at a local counseling center. She didn't contest it, not really. She nodded through the judge's ruling, eyes glassy, hands clasped tight in her lap as if holding onto something only she could see. Afterward, she quit her job, packed up her things, moved to a small apartment across town. Her absence felt strange at first. The house was quieter, emptier, but the silence no longer stung. Joel focused on Emma. They began family therapy, twice a week, sitting in a sunlit room with a therapist named Leela, who spoke with a gentleness Joel admired. Emma didn't speak at first. For 3 weeks, she was a ghost in the sessions, drawing pictures, nodding or shaking her head when asked simple questions. Leela never pushed. Joel didn't either. Every evening, Joel would read from her favorite picture books. He still made the voices, still paused to let her giggle. Even if she didn't, still pointed to the illustrations and whispered, "That one looks like you," and smiled. And then, one quiet Tuesday night, while the rain tapped softly against the windows, Emma reached out. Joel was midway through a sentence when he felt her small hand on his shoulder. "I like when it's quiet," she said. Joel froze. He turned slowly, meeting her eyes. Her voice was clear, soft, certain. He didn't cry, not in front of her. But he held her, arms wrapped gently, and said nothing, because nothing he could say would match the enormity of those 5 words. The next morning, he called Leela, shared the moment. They cried together, briefly, over the phone. Healing, Leela said, doesn't come in grand gestures. It arrives like Emma's voice did, quietly, bravely. Joel carried that truth with him. He no longer checked Karen's social media, didn't wonder who she texted, didn't reread the transcripts or watch the footage. It was done, not forgiven, but closed. Sometimes he wondered if he could have seen it earlier, the way Karen pulled away, the way she drifted. He questioned his own blindness, his complicity, but guilt, he realized, couldn't undo damage. It could only inform the way forward. And forward, for him, meant presence. He was there when Emma opened her lunchbox and wrinkled her nose. There when she pointed to a bird outside and whispered, "That one's loud." He was there when she asked, weeks later, "Why did Mommy leave?" Joel knelt beside her, looked into her wide, searching eyes. "Because sometimes," he said slowly, "people get lost, and when they do, they hurt the ones they love." Emma didn't cry, she just nodded, as if that answer, in its simple truth, was enough. One Sunday morning, they went walking by the lake near their home. The sun danced on the surface, birds skimming low. Emma held Joel's hand the whole way. Toward the end, she stopped, looked up at him. "Are you staying?" Joel crouched to her level, brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. "Forever." And in her eyes, he saw it, the beginning of something new. Not perfect, not untouched, but honest, real. They sat by the shore as the sky dimmed, toes in the grass, the world finally matching the quiet they had both come to cherish. Joel whispered, almost to himself, "We don't need many words. Just truth, and each other." Emma didn't reply, she just leaned against him, her head on his shoulder, the lake breathing gently beside them. And that was enough. Before we go, take a moment to reflect. Sometimes, the most fragile voices carry the greatest truths. Emma's whisper shattered the silence, but it also saved a soul. If this story touched you, subscribe to Infidelity Chronicles, because in every broken promise, there's a voice still waiting to be heard. And next, imagine renewing your wedding vows in front of family, friends, and your child, only for your son to cry out in the middle of the ceremony, "Mom, you're lying to Dad." Coming up, Danielle from Naples, her son cried at her wedding vow renewal. You won't forget what happens next. Subscribe now. Truth hurts, but silence, it scars.